Hi, I'm Jody Vandermeer. I'm one of the registered dietitians with Nutrition by Meyer, and we're really excited to host this cooking demo sponsored by the United Dairy Industry of Michigan. So we're really going to focus on some dairy forward recipes that will really fit your holiday season here coming up. We're going to make a holiday baked brie, a salted caramel frappe, and then a antipasto wreath. So really festive, fun, and we will get started. So I have a pan right here that is warm. I'm going to turn it up so that we can get our mushrooms cooked. But I'm going to start with our holiday baked brie so that can get cooking while we work through our recipes. I'm going to add in some olive oil. You can use butter too, either one. I'll put a little bit in here, get that pan coated, and then I will add my mushrooms. I got the sliced white mushrooms. We really want to make sure that they get cooked down well, so that way we can easily cut them, so that they're not huge chunks on our brie, but they're easy to add to a slice of pita or bread or however you would like to serve your brie. Pop these in. These will cook for about 8-ish minutes until they're nice and soft. We're able to add them to the top of the brie. So I'm going to set these aside and we'll stir them every so often and grab my brie. So I have my brie unwrapped already, and I've lined my cooking sheet with parchment paper. Want to make sure that this is a great tip and hack that you line it with parchment paper so that it's just easy cleanup. You don't have to wash the pan. You can just take the parchment paper off and toss it, and your dish is still clean. All right, so I've got my brie here, and I'm going to put this in my preheated oven for about 5 to 7 minutes. So we will put that in. The big thing here is we want to make sure that our brie is soft, kind of melty in the middle, but still intact on the outside. So here's what that looks like. And we'll toss that in the oven. All right, we'll give these a stir. So let's talk a little bit about dairy. So I am located in Michigan, and in the state of Michigan, there are about 850 dairy farmers, which is a lot, I thought, when I was researching all of these fun facts about dairy. And so when the dairy is collected from a cow and then brought to the processor and packaged and then to the store, it takes 48 hours max from farm to store. So you know that your dairy, especially our Meyer dairy, milk is coming from a local farmer, which is great for our economy. We really try to, here at Meyer, in the communities we live in, we want to make sure that we're supporting local and buying local. So that's an amazing thing that all of our dairy is coming locally. I'm going to add a little bit more oil to these mushrooms. They're soaking it up. And then one way you can identify on your milk if it's coming from a local farm, or I should say the state that it's coming from, is there's a 5-digit number on it. So mine says 26, and then there's 3 digits behind it. That 26 is a identifier for the state of Michigan. So I know that my milk that I purchased came from a dairy farm in Michigan. So that's one way you can check out and see, and you can look up, if you're not in the state of Michigan, what your 2-digit code is to see where your dairy is coming from. All right, keep those cooking. I've also laid out a few. So we're going to use milk in one of our recipes and use some different cheeses in another recipe. But I also laid out some of my favorite dairy products to use. So right here, you can see this is a non-fat Greek yogurt. Absolutely love Greek yogurt. I love our vanilla Greek yogurt just to make parfaits. Also, you can put it in smoothies to make it a little creamier. One of the other items I really enjoy is the cottage cheese. I feel like cottage cheese has really blown up this last year or so in all sorts of different recipes. People are adding it to their eggs, they're adding it to smoothies. I've seen people make wraps out of cottage cheese. So it's very versatile. And with the Greek yogurt, with the cottage cheese, you're going to get that added protein when you either sub or use that, as a snack item. Also, I have a toddler at home. This is one of the easiest snack options for me to grab for him, and that he enjoys and loves string cheese. Great, on the go grab snack option. All right, these mushrooms are coming along pretty well. They're cooking up pretty fast here. And that brie should be done here in just about a minute. I'm going to start breaking these apart so that we don't have chunks on our brie. And I will grab the platter for our brie. So on here, we'll put the brie. I put some pita chips here on the side. You could do some whole grain crackers. You could do bread. You could do pita, like soft pita. Up to you on what you want your vessel to be for the warm brie. Getting all sauteed up here. And let me grab that brie. I'm going to turn that pan off. All right, so as you can see, still intact. I can feel it's softer in the middle, and that's what we're looking for. Put this down. Got the brie off the bottom here. And we will top our brie off. So I'm going to put a drizzle of honey on our brie. It'll add a little sweetness. Add some of our mushrooms we've cooked up here. You can always use any leftover mushrooms in an omelet or put into a wrap or a different meal. So if you don't use all of them, you can add them to another meal. I have some pomegranate seeds. So this will add a good, also like sweet tart flavor, gives it some of that red holiday color. Beautiful. And then I crushed up some pistachios. So I'll also top it with some pistachios. Kind of gives it that festive green and red colors. And then we have our holiday baked brie. Oh, set that there. Beautiful. And that cheese should be melty inside. Oh yeah. Could go maybe a minute longer too if you wanted, but it's nice and soft on the inside. Easy, less than 10 minutes to make. All right, our next recipe we're gonna make is the salted frappe. Grab out of the way. And I want to talk about milk specifically because we're going to highlight milk in this recipe. So I'm going to bring my blender over here. so we can see. Go like that. I have 2 cups of coffee that I brewed earlier and I cooled down. It was just put it in my refrigerator so that it was cold. I'll put those in here. And then I'm going to need 2 cups of milk. So with milk, it is when it's processed, they take all of the fat out of the milk and then they add it back depending on how much fat content is in that milk product. So whole milk, for example, is 3.5% fat. So that's how much is added back into the milk. Same with 2%. They add 2% fat back, 1%, and then skim. There's a little amount of fat in that milk product. So I thought that was really interesting that it's added back, but with it being added back, there's no loss in nutrients. So there's still the 13 essential nutrients that dairy provides in each of the milks, even though the fat content is different. I'm going to add some ice to our frappe. And then our fun part here, a little bit of our sea salt caramel, just to give it a little sweetness. And I am going to mute myself here quick while I blend this up. All right. That is blended, got a little bit sprayed everywhere, but that's the fun of cooking, right? And then I have my fun little glass. So what I'm going to do is take some of the salted caramel syrup and I'm going to drizzle it around in my glass so I get a little bit of that as well in my glass. And I'm going to add my frappe mix. So mine's a little bit liquidy, but that's okay. If you want it thicker, you can add a little bit more ice and that will help it become thicker. Or you could stick it in the freezer for a little bit. And there is one of the frappes. I am going to top it with whipped cream because we're going to indulge in one of these on Christmas morning or at a holiday brunch. I am going to enjoy it with a little bit of whipped cream. Cheers. Let's try it. It's creamy. It's really good. That salted caramel adds just a hint of sweetness to the frappe. Really would enjoy this at a holiday brunch. So good. All right, recipe number 2. Let's talk about some of the essential nutrients that are in dairy products. So calcium is one of the big things that is in dairy, and that's going to help with bone and muscle. It's also one of the other nutrients is vitamin D. And vitamin D helps with absorption of calcium. So it's great that they're both in dairy products so that they can help each other absorb better. And then dairy is also a great source of protein. And we know that's going to help with muscle building, muscle recovery. Protein is one of our macronutrients that we need. It helps with us feeling fuller longer. So that's another really great thing that is in dairy. All right. And finally, let's do our holiday antipasto wreath. Make a little space so we can see what we're doing here. All right. So I started with the base here. And what these are little skewers. I put tomatoes, there's some pepper jack cheese, salami, some roasted red peppers, and then gherkin sweet pickles. And then some of them have our marinated artichokes on there. We've got, what else is on here? Some stuffed olives. So really each skewer you can kind of create in different ways if you'd like. I bought these 4 inch, I think they're like 4 to 6 inch skewers. And then what I started to do is just build this base. So I'll probably want to make another layer to make this wreath. I'll show you what I got going on right now in hopes that it doesn't. And I'm kind of building them into a circle. All right, so I am going to always make sure I put a piece of cheese on each skewer. I'm going to use mozzarella, I think, for this round to build the wreath. So I'll do a mozzarella ball. Got these cute little cherry tomatoes. Let's put an olive. I like the stuffed olive too, because then you get a little bit of cheese in there as well. We also have these fun stuffed olives. This is the garlic and jalapeno flavor. We really like spicy at our house, so I was excited to grab a jar of these to add to the wreath as well. And then let's put a roasted red pepper on this. One thing I like to do too with these little skewers is to try to alternate different colors. So not putting two red items or two green items by each other. And then I'm going to put that on our wreath. So I'll grab another mozzarella ball, the tomato, I'm going to do an artichoke heart, and then do one of these pickles here. And another tomato. So again, choose your own adventure, whatever fits on your little skewer, and then place it here. This one, let's do, I haven't done any with salami yet. So let's put a salami on one. And if you're doing meat, my recommendation is to take your meat and not just skewer it that way. If you fold it in half and then half again, so it's in a quarter, like this, and then put it through, this will add a little bit more flair and like texture and different levels on your wreath. So I think that's helpful when building out your wreath. The tomato, the olive, and we'll set that here. We'll make one more mozzarella ball. I have pepper jack cheese here that I used. However, you can use any hard cheese you like. So if you like cheddar, if you like Colby Jack, so any of the cheeses that come in a block that are hard, you can easily just take your block, cut it into strips, and then cut those strips into cubes so that they can easily fit onto a skewer. But any hard cheese will work, whatever your family likes. Let's put another pickle. And the tomato. The other thing to mention is we have different types of mozzarella balls. So some of them are in like oils, spices, and herbs. This one was just an oil that I'm using. So there are some that are marinated or sitting in different herbs. So that will give different flavors to the cheese. And then the artichoke hearts. These are absolutely delicious. These are marinated artichoke hearts, and I thought a lot of these ingredients, while they taste great alone, if you have leftovers, be a great topper to a salad. I was thinking this would be a great addition to a salad. It kind of gives a little bit of acidic, but it's a nice texture to add for a variety. All right, and then we'll make one more. Mozzarella cheese, prosciutto, stuffed olive, and a pepper. Okay. All right, so I've got this wreath going. Rinse my hands quick. So you can continue to build out the wreath and give it more layers, and especially depending on what your crowd is, right? If you're going to a small gathering, if it's just your family, or if you're going to a large party and you need to have more skewers, you can fill your whole board up and just keep adding more layers. And then to give it kind of that wreath vibe, I have some sage leaves here. However, you could use some rosemary sprigs too. And we can add a few of these in there to kind of create that wreath feeling with the greens. And I've just kind of broken them up into these little sizes so they have a few little leaves on them. And I'm gonna hook them in between different skewers just for a little flair. One more. All right, so here's kind of the base of what it looks like. I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer here. You can kind of see that. And it's really fun, festive, lots of colors, great nutrients, highlights, as many cheeses as you want it to, especially with mozzarella. And if we've got the pepper jack here, but if you wanted to do Colby jack or cheddar, you have the blue cheese and the stuffed olives. You can even get feta cheese in olives as well. So that's another opportunity to highlight different cheeses on your charcuterie boards. I also want to talk about servings real quick of how much serving we should be getting of dairy a day. So typical Americans should be eating about 2 to 3 servings of dairy a day. So what does that look like, right? We need to have or be consuming either a cup of milk, that's considered a serving, a half cup of cottage cheese, that's a serving, 3/4 cup of yogurt, or an ounce of cheese. So you're probably like, Jody, what's an ounce of cheese? That's hard to determine. You can kind of use your hand, the palm of your hand, as a good resource there for an ounce of cheese. So you definitely would hit a serving by eating a few of these local skewers to get a dairy serving in here. All right, so we have made all 3 of our dairy forward recipes. I hope everyone gets the opportunity to try these in the future, bring them to your holiday parties, have a nice frappe at your breakfast, and really just think about choosing dairy when you're in our mire. Hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for joining us.